Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Pretty well, Charlie. How are you?
Hi,
I'm going to
Charlie.
welcome the Pellies, Coach Graham Knoop, and Captain Brian Pilot Kennedy. Really glad to have you guys. Of course, you Pelicans this year is been. I don't know if my sideline whisperer called you the Cinderella story at any point. Did he? He's a prick. Okay, but it is sort of what happened because not only you guys moved up from D3 to D2, and I think we talked a little bit about this last time you were in the. I was with the coach in the on the podcast why you decided to move, but not only you moved, you did really well, and not only you did really well in your division, but you put out that D4 team that was playing like crazy. And I'm going to put on the screen. So just tell me a little bit about. We can start with the coach. How was this season for you as it was developing, and were you surprised yourself, or maybe not?
Yeah, I suppose one, we were really grateful to be promoted to D2, and we knew we would have our hands full. I suppose we always really set our sights on the playoffs and giving ourselves an opportunity and a chance to get there. In order to do that, we knew we would have to have a squad that was deep, with injuries and players going away. Again, we're an amateur club, so often guys got work or family commitments. So we knew we needed to build some depth in our club, anywhere between 50 to 60 players, and we managed to do so. It's really exciting that we've got a D4 and a D2 team in the final. And so we knew if we get those sort of things right, that would give ourselves a chance at playoffs, and we've done just that.
I'm gonna guess that if only the girlfriends, wives, and parents come to the games, that's gonna be a huge crowd for you guys. It's like a local game for you, like playing at
Yeah,
home.
we like to think ourselves as a community club. So we're always inviting friends or family members down to come and watch the game. Otherwise, we would just be
Yeah.
30 guys just running around the field, with no one watching. So spectators are always important, and we always invite them down.
And is that something that happens typically on your home games? You have a nice crowd.
Yeah, I think we do. Again, we've had to travel quite a bit, and having a kind of gauging the rest of opposition crowds. But I think, yeah, like I said, we're very community driven. So a large makeup of our crowd are family and friends. But we do get quite a few locals also coming down to pop their head in and see what the Pelicans are up to.
Nice, Brian. Tell us a little bit about your roster. The how is this team made up of? In terms of experienced players, you were telling me just now that you've been playing since you were 15. Is that a common thing on the team?
So we have a variety of guys that come down to practice, and the biggest thing is you look at the Pelicans and you're like, wow, they're D2 this year. They're going into a final. The D4 team's going into a final as well, and it's like it must be a completely new roster, but that's not the case. But we do have experienced guys. Yeah, it's the same guys that've been through. Our president, Alan Gankar, VP Louis Verdew, like they held down the fort. And then obviously we added pieces. There's always ruggers that are just around the area that need to put their boots back on and come back out. So we got lucky enough that we had a couple of those guys come. So we are an experienced squad if you look at us individually, and then we're putting it all together. But our front row, we have Frenchie, who's been playing for 15 years, but then we also have newer front row where we have 2 or 3 years experience. So if you look up and down our roster, we have young, energetic guys, but then we also have that lethal experience side of guys. I think the average is like 10 years experience, especially in the back line. So we have it completely covered, and then you have the whole D4 team that's just pushing us each and every week. So the motto is no one's D2 or D4 each week of practice. It's a new set roster, and honestly, the practices are intense. They're passionate, and the hardest match sometimes is that Thursday at training when D4 comes out and they're fighting for a spot. These guys are they're fighting every tooth and nail just to make that D2 roster, and I think that's what's driven both sides to where they are today.
Maybe even some actual fights now and then, right? No, that happens.
Well, I won't name drop, but on the Pelicans roster, we know who the culprits are, and it actually creates a fun environment. And I think that's what drives us to come to training each and every week, that it's not just the same boring drills. It's,
Definitely.
passion
Yes.
out there. Yeah.
So that's credit for the coach. And I have to say, last year you didn't make it to the final of D3 just for,
Yeah.
it could have been you guys. Coach, I don't remember, were you coaching them last season? No. Or yes?
No. So
No, you just started for this season, right?
Yeah, I started this season, correct.
Well, that's a good start. That's, of course, everybody remembers, and that's what makes this final so exciting, that you guys actually beat the Tridents at home when the Tridents had beaten everybody by 40 points. And that was a real big surprise. I know, I've heard stuff about the game, but nevertheless, you won it. So going into this game, what is your mindset to play this game? Because these guys, and excuse me that I'm wearing this shirt, but my son plays, so I'm technically a fan of them. They are very motivated, of course, to not only win again the championship, but maybe especially win it having you guys. How is that playing out over there?
Stu, do you want to
Sorry,
address
I might
that?
have lost you there for a second.
I can step in,
sorry.
man.
I think the Tridents have to be really well respected. They come with a massive track record. They've done exceptionally well. They've won many finals. So we've got a massive amount of respect for them, a massive amount of respect for how they play the game. I suppose it's knockout rugby. So sometimes rugby can be a cool sport. Knockout rugby, anything can happen. So you can plan as best as possible, the bounce of the ball, or a bit of luck, or a decision here or there. So we just wanted to make sure that we gave ourselves an opportunity to be playing in the knockouts, and we've given ourselves that opportunity. I think what it comes down to now is our preparation, and we're very KPI and data driven. So we would have done our homework. We've done our homework on Tridents. We've had about 2 weeks to prepare. The Tridents have had 3 weeks to prepare. They had a game. They finished their season a tad earlier than us. And again, I think both teams have had an incredibly successful season. The reality is both teams must be doing something right to be getting to a final. So we're under no illusions that we've got a massive task ahead of us. And we've got a lot of respect for the Tridents, and we'll definitely be putting our best foot forward. And if we're going to overcome the game on Saturday and win.
I know you're a very experienced coach, for what I remember from a past interview and even at the professional level. So I like to ask these questions to the teams, because we've seen, especially in the finals in the last years, the game being decided in the last 1 or 2 minutes. Is there something that, without revealing any specifics, but do you actually work on those last 2 minutes? Do the players know what they have to do in the last 2 minutes if they're winning or losing by 1 or 2 points?
Yeah, I think there are two factors that play into that. One is you want to kind of scatter your team with a couple of workhorses, but then also you want game breakers. So you want something special potentially to crop up in those last 2-3 minutes, maybe if it's a wing or a flanker, an eighth man, a scrum off. And if you can get them, maybe they start, maybe they come off the bench, they've got some fresh legs, that can also be determine the outcome. But I would also say, going into those last 10 minutes of a game, you want to stick to your bread and butter. You want to stick to what you know. You don't necessarily want to force anything too magical and make unforced errors. So you often just want to stick to what you know, and hoping that your rinse and repeat that you do at training sessions really comes to the fore in those last 5-10 minutes.
I also can understand the last 2 minutes, and this is for Brian, maybe that's when you've been playing 78 minutes, so, and you're all beaten up and tired, so maybe the up here it's not working that well, right? Because so is and you being the captain, I guess you try to lead on that, right? On how to manage those last minutes.
Yeah, the coaches put us in through these trainings where it's very segmented and you know what you're doing, you're sticking to the structure plan. We have a line of communication and we have the people in the right positions, calling the structure, calling the play, and kind of curtailing all that. So in these high pressure situations that you're referring to, the final 2 minutes, maybe a tight game, you're going to have people that are getting a little antsy. Maybe they're a little worried. But we have the right leadership in place where they're going to calm down the nerves and they know where and when to attack. So in terms of that, that's where some of our experience comes in. And we got some great leaders in the forwards. So I think we'll be fine in that department.
Good. Well, I'm looking forward to a very exciting game. I'll be right there. I'm going to be rooting for both teams, but for this one to win, of course. But I'm expecting a really exciting game. I just want to end this with a question about as you can see, the Miami Sharks are sponsoring these series of interviews and what we're going to do on Saturday. What are your thoughts on how an MLR team would impact rugby here in the state? Of course, it's not that close to you guys, but hopefully we'll see you here for some of the games. What are your thoughts on this team starting up next year, Coach?
I think from my side, it's brilliant. I think it'll without a doubt boost the rugby in Florida from the perspective of it's something to aim for now. So if you're playing local rugby or you're playing college rugby, what exactly are you aiming for? You're aiming for men's state final, which is great, which is all good and well. But I suppose a lot of athletes out there are looking for the next step up above that, professional. And this is what that is. I think it's something to work towards, to get really excited about. And from what I've heard, it sounds like the Miami Sharks are going to definitely be going into the communities to try and earth some talent. So I think it's really exciting for all clubs involved, and especially for the players. It definitely gives them a cherry to aim towards.
Is this something that the players talk about, Brian?
Yes and no, especially as we're trying to also grow our youth program and colleges. I think it's big. It's giving you aspirations, and the aspirations are right there now, right? So you have Miami, a local MLR team. And then one thing I think the FRU could do that could be a huge benefit is if you partner with the Sharks and we dedicate one weekend where we have a North versus South conference game. And then after that weekend, we all clubs together, go and celebrate and watch a Miami Sharks home game. I think it's something we should look into, kind of like an all-star game, and just have the conferences play against each other. I think the clubs around the league are pretty good. They're pretty tight. There's amazing leaders like Will Keels and crew, Tori Williamson. They always host great socials, and I think a good club day with all Florida teams in preparation with the Sharks will help boost some good results for the Sharks as well. So that's what I like to look forward to.
It's a good idea, and they are going to definitely be taking notes. So, guys, I think we have a lot. We could talk a lot because your club. I also just want to say quickly, we can't extend it too much because these have to be sort of short. But I also want to recognize your club as one of the most organized, all-around club. Just starting from your website, which is always up to date. It looks good. Your social media is good. You've been playing all your games. You have consistently the D4s because some D4s can't do that or don't do that. All around, I know you've started youth programs. So, you're really a nice one of the, I would say, the clubs to look up to in Florida of how to do things. And I wish you the best. I don't know if you're interested in just quickly seeing what the Sideline Whisperer has predicted for this game. I'm going to put it on the screen for a second here, just as an exclusive. I'm not releasing this yet, but just so this guy is going for a very tight game. 2 points game. Could be for anybody. I hope your kicker is been practicing since intensely. So we'll see. Guys, thank you very much. I will see you on Saturday, and hopefully we have a great game. Looking really forward to that.
Awesome, exciting stuff.
Awesome.
Charlie, thank you so much to you and your team and everything you guys do for Florida Rugby.
Yeah. Well, don't thank Ross because he couldn't come. So.
Appreciate it, Charlie, as always.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Guys.